Yeah, man, before we bring on our next guest, I just want you to know that this next segment is brought to you by LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions may apply.
All right, do we have our guest ready? And there he is. It is Frank Schwab of Yahoo Sports. Frank, thanks for joining us today here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And Frank, the reason we wanted to bring you on is we have ran the gambit of all the power rankings heading into 2024, and we've seen the Browns ranked as low as 22 on some and as high as 7 on others. Yeah, FanDuel had them at 22, which was crazy. You had them at number 7, which was the highest we saw. So we were curious, what makes you so much higher on the Browns heading into 2024 than the rest of some of the people putting together these power rankings?
Yeah, I knew I was going to be the highest on the Browns. I'm just really, really high on them this year in general because I look at it this way. I like teams with one variable. There's only one variable with the Cleveland Browns. We know the defense is going to be good. It was great last year. We know their skill positions are going to be really good, whether it's Amari Cooper or Brandon Aiyuk. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a second. We know their coach is good, 2-time NFL Coach of the Year. One thing has to happen, and that's Deshaun Watson playing at an above-average level. And if he does that, I think the Browns could go to the Super Bowl. I really do. They're going to be my pick to lose in the Super Bowl to the Detroit Lions. As crazy as that sounds coming out of my mouth, I really believe in that because I still haven't given up hope that Deshaun Watson can be an above-average quarterback. In Vegas, the over-under on the Browns right now is 8.5. You're telling me that Vegas thinks Deshaun Watson is 3 games worse than Joe Flacco last year? Because they won 11 with Joe Flacco playing at the end of the year. I think that's crazy. I think it's absolutely insane. Joe Flacco had a good run last year. Was that because Joe Flacco found some fountain of youth, or was it because he had a really, really good team around him? I'm guessing the latter. I think Deshaun Watson, as long as his shoulder is okay, and there are obvious questions about that, I think if his shoulder's okay, he can be not the guy we saw in Houston. I don't think that guy's coming back anymore. But I think he could be a good, solid quarterback. And we've already seen the Browns win 11 games with a below-average quarterback play. What if Watson's above average? That's what I'm banking on when I put the Browns on.
Yeah, one of the things that I keep seeing is there's a lot of people who have like the Chicago Bears higher than the Browns. And I get that like people like Caleb Williams, and I like their pieces, DJ Moore, Roman Dunze, they went out and got a bunch of other guys. But that's hard to say, like, that you have more faith in a guy that you have never seen throw a pass over a guy you did see throw passes, but you like you say, you may not think he's going to get back to there, but that would say that you feel like you have a complete fall off at that position.
Right.
I don't understand how they could, rank them ahead of the Browns. What are some of the teams that, people are ranking very high that you kind of think are like, nah, you guys are crazy for that?
One of them is the Bengals. I don't know about the Bengals. Look, we all want to just chalk up Cincinnati's lost season to, Joe Burrow got hurt, that's the only reason, let's move on. It's not that easy. Jake Browning had a better passer rating than Joe Burrow last year. Jake Browning had a better PFF grade than Joe Burrow last year. Jake Browning ain't better than Joe Burrow, I get that, but I'm just saying, if you buy into this narrative that the Bengals just fell apart because the quarterback play was so bad without Joe Burrow, that isn't the reason. They had a lot of issues on defense last year, a lot of issues on the offensive line. T. Higgins became a ghost as he deals with his contract situation. There's some things the Bengals have to prove to me. Look, they could be a Super Bowl contender again. It's perfectly reasonable to think that. But I need to see it first. And then some of the other teams that, even the Packers. The Packers have only played a good half season. We forget that if the Seattle Seahawks beat the Pittsburgh Steelers late in the year, the Seahawks hosted them and got upset by Mason Rudolph. The Seahawks are going to the playoffs, not the Packers, and we're not thinking about the Packers the same way. So that's another team. I like the Packers, but are we a little too far ahead of ourselves with them. Or the Falcons. So we don't know what Kirk Cousins is going to look like with a 36 years old coming off an Achilles injury. So there's a few teams that I think could slip a little bit. We know some are. Like, there's a team just about every year that starts in the top 5 of these power rankings and doesn't even make the playoffs. It's going to happen to somebody, and we'll see who it is. I can't lie. I'm still distracted by somebody ranking the Browns 22nd. I think that's crazy. Like, you could add like historical teams into the mix. You could add like the last 5 years into the mix, and the Browns should be 22. They were 11-6 last year with DTR starting games. Like, what are we thinking with? I just, there's such, and I'll tell you why. This is, and I think this is the honest reason. I'm sure you guys have discussed this, thought about this, everything. People dislike the Browns now because of Deshaun Watson, and I get it. Look, the Browns made themselves an unlikable team. We talked about this on our podcast, on our Yahoo podcast. If somehow my Lions-Browns things come true, what would that mean? What would that look like? I think 98% of the country would be rooting for the Lions because everybody hates the Browns right now. But I think it's seeping into people's thought process of what the Browns really are as a team. Deshaun Watson is not a likable guy. I get that. But this is a team that won 11 games last year with really, really bad quarterback play. How are they going to be that much worse? How are they going to be the 22nd best team in the NFL? I don't get that at all. I think this Browns team is really, really good. I get that they're not likable. Get that Deshaun Watson's not a dude you want to root for, really, outside of Cleveland, maybe. But it's just crazy to me to think the Browns are going to slip that far.
Earl, you want to chime in on this?
Yeah, Frank, man, that's great commentary. It's funny, me and G. Bush was talking about something along these lines on Saturday. As a national guy, you seem to be pretty high on the Cleveland Browns. But the conversation we were having is that here locally in the media, we can be pretty tough on our team. And sometimes we can be pessimistic. We don't really think that things are going to come through. We kind of wait on the other shoe to drop. And we had this thought process, well, maybe national guys look at local guys and say, well, if they think the other shoe was going to drop, then why the hell should we have any faith? Do you think that some national pundits look at the Cleveland Browns like that?
I don't think so. I think part of it is they play in a really tough division. Let's make the reasonable argument to not think the Browns are going to be that good this season. Really, really tough division. They could finish third in that division, and it wouldn't surprise anybody, right? Like, the Ravens are really good. The Bengals could bounce right back with Joe Burrow being healthy. I get that possibility. The Browns, running back, really not much there. We don't know that Nick Chubb's coming back and going to be the same Nick Chubb. We saw that injury. It was awful. Like, there's just no guarantee they're going to have the kind of running game to really support Deshaun Watson there. And then there's the Deshaun Watson health question. We don't, like, he's not going to play this week, and there's a reason, because they're limiting his reps, pitch count, all that kind of stuff. I think that's a real thing. We don't know that Deshaun Watson just bounces back from the shoulder surgery, right? And then there's just Deshaun Watson just might be bad now. Like, that's possible. I've accounted for that possibility. It's been a long time since we've seen him be a good NFL quarterback. I keep thinking back to that second half of the Ravens game last year. He's awesome. Like, he dragged that team back and won 33-31. But mostly Deshaun Watson has not been good for the Cleveland Browns. Is that just who he is now? It would be absolutely unprecedented. There's never really been a quarterback at his age to completely fall off from being a top 5 to 10 guy and completely fall off if injury's not involved. He would just fall off, but his whole situation is unprecedented. So those are the reasons. You could make an argument, yes. And also, the defensive greatness is not always sticky from year to year, right? Like, there's much more fluctuation in defensive greatness and offensive greatness. So maybe Jim Schwartz's defense takes a step back. I understand some of the reasons why somebody wouldn't be as high on the Browns as I am, but I just think people are failing to look at the upside case here at the Browns, which is, if Deshaun Watson is the 10th best quarterback in football, this might be the best team in the NFL.
Frank, week 1 when the season kicks off, Brandon Aiyuk will be in a what jersey?
Oh, man. It's looking like I think the winds are shifting towards Pittsburgh at this point, but I don't know. I'm curious to know, like, I really have to know what you guys think of the whole idea of, okay, the Browns are trading Amari Cooper and a pick for Brandon Aiyuk, because I look at this as they're not that much different. Amari Cooper, a little inconsistent. I get that. Brandon Ayuk's better, no question, and he's younger. But as far as these two players, I don't see that there being that big of a gap where I would send a really, really valuable draft pick to San Francisco, also pay Aiyuk, also pay Amari Cooper's dead cap hit for next year if he's traded. I don't love this deal for Cleveland as much as I should. When I first heard about it, I was like, oh, Aiyuk to the Browns, that's going to be amazing. Jerry Jeudy becomes number 3, all that kind of stuff. And then I'm like, oh, wait, they got to give up Amari, too. I don't know how they really get that much better as a team with this.
Do they have to give up Amari, though, Frank? Or is there
Maybe not. That's just the speculation. I'd be surprised if San Francisco did this without Amari Cooper coming back, because they're in a Super Bowl window. They need somebody back. They were going to get Kendrick Bourne from the Patriots, the reports say. And so if the Browns could pull this off without giving up Amari Cooper or any other piece like that, Njoku, I don't think that's going to happen. But then I would love it for the Browns. But if they're giving up Cooper in this deal, and there has been reporting that says that Cooper's could be involved, then I just don't get it for the Browns side. I don't know that I really get it for the 49ers side that much, except that, you're getting rid of an unhappy asset to get a really, really good receiver and a pick back.
On a different note, Frank, I'm curious. The Browns brought in Mike Vrabel to be a consultant this year to help Kevin Stefanski and Jim Schwartz and just be an extra set of eyes and ears in terms of game planning and preparation. I've always liked Vrabel as a head coach. He's obviously an accomplished head coach. How much do you think he can offer and help this Cleveland's Brown team as they get ready to take on some opponents that Vrabel has some legit hands-on experience preparing for as a head coach of the Titans the last few years?
Yeah, I have a ton of respect for Vrabel, and I think the Titans are going to regret letting him go. I mean, it sounded like a power struggle between him and ownership, and ultimately they just decided, hey, we're just going to go in a different direction. But as far as Vrabel goes, I think that he's gotten more out of his teams the past few years than any other coach. I think that's a sign of a good coach. I think he's a smart guy, obviously coming from the Belichick tree. Those guys don't always work out, but they know football. Vrabel knows football. And I think it says something about Stefanski, too, that he's comfortable enough to say, this guy is considered one of the better coaches in the NFL, but I don't care about that. I just want another set of eyes. I'm comfortable with my job security, as he should be, as a two-time coach of the year, and bringing in a guy like Mike Vrabel, because he doesn't threaten me at all. He's only going to help us. So I think this is just a net positive for the Browns. How could it be bad? How could it be bad to add a Mike Vrabel to your staff as just a guy in the room to say, hey, have you thought about this? Oh, we scouted these guys last year, as you guys alluded to. We scouted these guys last year. They don't do this well. Whatever it is, I think bringing in a great football mind like Vrabel is a really good thing for the Browns this year.
You know what, Frank? I was just sitting there thinking of when you said some of the downsides and the ups and the downs of picking the Browns high or low. I thought that was really, very thought-provoking, because you got to think about the upside and the downside. And one of the downsides was Nick Chubb, and I've had 2 ACL surgeries, so I know how difficult it is to come back. And I'm a defensive lineman. I wasn't cutting nowhere and do none of that. But what if Nick Chubb comes back and he's 95% of what Nick Chubb traditionally is? Didn't play all last year with Deshaun Watson. How does that change Deshaun Watson's life or his possible trajectory if you can get a guy like Nick Chubb to be there for the majority of the year and he's 95% of what Nick Chubb is?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's possible because we've seen him do it once. A really, really bad knee injury, obviously, in college, everybody's talked about, and came back to be one of the NFL's best runners. He's, as just a pure runner goes, Nick Chubb's right up there with anybody you want to name, McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, all those guys. He was absolutely awesome. So, yeah, 95% of Nick Chubb could be a really, really good running back behind that offensive line. And we talked about, how Deshaun Watson isn't exactly the guy everybody wants to root for. Nick Chubb is the guy everybody wants to root for. I think everybody wants Nick Chubb to come back 100% and be the Nick Chubb of old. He's just a guy who's fun to watch. He carries himself in such a great way. Like, I love Nick Chubb. I think he's a great player, and it was heartbreaking to see that injury last year. And, we saw by now the video of him squatting 600 some pounds or whatever it was. He's kind of one of these guys where the normal rules don't apply. So could he come back early in the season and be a big factor for the Browns? Yes, absolutely. We have to account for that. And if he does, combined with good quarterback play, that really transforms what this Browns team can do. As much as Jerome Ford's fine. Anybody who they could pick up late in the process, P. Ryan or whatever, whoever's going to be available at the end of this month, they'd be fine. Nick Chubb gives them a chance to be special at that position. If he is, like you said, 95% of what he usually is, he could be really, really good for this football team. And again, he's such a physical freak that it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Awesome. Well, Frank, we appreciate you taking a few minutes to join us here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Make sure you check him out online at Yahoo and on Twitter at the Twitter handle we just had on the screen. Frank, thank you so much for joining us, and best of luck the rest of the way.
Absolutely, guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
So we brought in Frank to talk some power rankings, and he delivered the hammer. So shout out to Frank.
Yeah, man.
He's higher on the Browns than most, or especially from the outside looking in.
I mean, he's not wrong. Like they're like, you know, I wouldn't have the Browns as high as 7, and I like the Browns. I wouldn't have them 7. That's high, right? I'd have them anywhere between that McNuggets. You're brilliant at doing that. Anywhere between, 10 and 8. Like,
Give a range.
Anywhere between
Give
10
a
and
range, yeah.
I got them here somewhere in about 11. But here's the thing: there is some ups that they got. There is some downside to it, right? Like there are some things that can go a little bit wrong. One of them is not playing your quarterback until week 1, because I don't think he's going to play all that much.
No.